I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
High school football is back, but guess what? We need more referees. There's a constant need for qualified individuals to work our high school football game. Please consider becoming a football official. Go to pnfoa.com to sign up today. That's pnfoa.com to sign up today. This is a message brought to you by Rainier Avenue Radio .world, your home for Metro High School football.
Women are not an homogenous group.
We face discrimination differently depending on factors such as ethnicity, age, socioeconomic status, and more.
Rainier Avenue Radio is proud to amplify women.
They are the experts of their own lives, initiating conversations within their community about challenges they face, the solutions they're working on, and the opportunities they see.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 for Women's Voices on Air. We know our challenges. We are the experts of our lives.
We are master multitaskers, prioritizing our family, friends, and our faith above our own needs.
Our needs and voices are too often overlooked.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. for Women's Voices on Air.
We tell our stories in our own way.
This is Big Poppy, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on RainierAvenueRadio.world.
This is Tyrone with God Is, an inspiration of gospel music, also on RainierAvenueRadio.world. We give out free food each and every Saturday from 11 to 2. And so we want you to come on out and support us when we love on your community. And we also have a fish fry once a month. We want to raise funds, put back into the community. And so come on, support us. We need your love. And also, if you want to be connected with us, go to RainierAvenueRadio.world, to the website, Facebook, Instagram, and God Is. And as God Is got a website, we need your help, community. So come on out and get your free food each and every Saturday it is. And so we asking for donation, whatever you feel to give from your heart to the mind. And as we doing it right here for you, go to our website and touch love and give back. And so come on by 18 23rd Avenue, Rainier Avenue Radio.world, your community radio station and inspiration of all the things we do in your community.
Rainier Avenue Radio.world is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn apps.
You're listening to Heartbeat Radio. I'm your host, Cindi Bright. Heartbeat Radio is a conversation aimed to take the pulse of corporate America. Opportunities for people of color, we're getting lost in the shuffle of change. I'm that provocateur of change. The hearts of corporate America are addressed. Access and opportunities will be accelerated for all people. Through Heartbeat Radio, you will gain a deeper understanding of what is necessary for change.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Heartbeat Radio. I am your host, Cindi Bright. Thank you for joining us this evening. A different type of conversation this evening than what we have been having. We historically focus a lot on political conversations, candidates for office. And tonight we're just going to pivot a little bit because we just want to talk this evening. And we're actually going to talk this evening over wine, of which I'm going to share the wine we're all having. Oh my goodness, they're starting to do work in my office building right now, so bear with me as the noise is going on. So we're going to be having a conversation about Black women, about what it's like to be a Black woman, about some of the obstacles that we are facing as Black women. And it's important to note that I'm not doing the show in an attempt to slam anybody. In fact, I want to acknowledge every single one of my sisters out there who has been lifting me up. And there are several Black women that are doing that. But I think it's important as approach to have this conversation. And I think it's important because we are in a movement right now across this country for Black lives. I think it's time that we as a community work closer together, that we amplify and lift each other and start bringing some solutions to the table about how we best do that. Let me bring in my co-host first with me. Joy Stanford is coming in with me tonight to host this. Good evening, Joy. How are you this evening?
Hey, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I haven't seen you.
Super excited though. Super excited about this week.
I know it should be a good conversation. Before we invite our guests in, I want to highlight, because I have this for you. One of our guests this evening is Paula Sardinas, and we are going to allow Paula to introduce herself, because I don't want to do any woman a disservice with all that she does. But she did bring this to you. Oh, Snow is going to say, "Hey, Joy," and not "Hey, Cindy." I think Snow.
She said, "Hi, Joy."
Frechette Wine, only Black-owned winery here in the state of Washington. Paula bought these for us to have this conversation with. So I
didn't get a chance to get with her to get wine, but that's okay. No worries.
Hey, Gwen, how are you this evening?
I have something.
We have some white wine. All right.
I've got Prosecco.
Our first guest is Paula Sardinas this evening. Let's welcome Paula to Heartbeat Radio. Paula.
Look at her looking fabulous in her living room.
I have never actually, I love you too, Snow. I have never actually met Paula face to face. I've only talked to Paula on the phone, and I see she has her rosé with her this evening.
Yes.
Sachet. Rosé.
Sachet, sisters, sachet. And on the back of the bottle, there is just a beautiful women's empowerment message. I actually save all of Shay's bottles. She is the only Black winemaker, and Sachet is about just walking into your Blackness as a Black woman and owning it and being proud of it. Cindy, first of all, thank you for hosting this conversation. Thank you for having me. I'm going to be so quick about my background because nobody wants to hear about me and nobody cares. I'm a daughter of the South. I have had the distinct honor and pleasure of working with and for 4 amazing presidents. I am a Black lobbyist in multiple states. I have a global advocacy firm where we focus on everything from economic empowerment for communities of color to civil rights and racial justice. Some of the areas where we specialize is energy and utilities, STEM, environmental justice, cannabis social equity. What brought me to Washington in 2015 is becoming the first African-American woman and Black person to ever be the lead lobbyist in financial services when I came here to lobby for 184 credit unions. And I did that job for a couple of years and had my own firm and then branched back out on my own. And so today my husband and I are super proud to continue our legacy with FMS Global Strategies of advocating in 5 states and Puerto Rico. So we're just super excited and just really want to have this conversation about uplifting Black women, but I could not start without saying,
yes. Well, please don't let me be the only one drinking on air here because I'm the host.
Katie, look.
Okay, good. Let's welcome in. We have Katie Hall. She has signed in now. So let's welcome, I call her Keela, but everyone else calls her Katie Hall.
I say Keela too. I don't call her Katie. It's Keela.
Yeah, Keela is if you know me. If you know me, you can call me Keela publicly. Yes, but publicly when I'm on television or anything like that, I do like to be respected as Katie Hall. That's my brand. That's my name. But with personal relationships, I am Keela all day. Oh man, thank you all so much. And Paula, thank you for the wine. I am drinking some and I need it. And I think are we introducing ourselves right now? And I'm so sorry.
Let me first thank you for, I know you're, for people who don't know it, you are calling in from the East Coast. And so I know it's 10 o'clock your time. So thank you for calling in at this late hour and having this conversation with us. But please tell us, look, I Googled you. I was like, every time I turn around, Keela's got another trophy in her hand or another plaque that's coming up. So let me just let her introduce her. So talk to us about give us your background.
Oh man. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see you again, Joy, and Paula Sardinas. You know, I love seeing you and I see you. The great thing about Paula, and I promise you I'll introduce myself, but what I love about this group of women, and I want to start with Paula, because you have definitely been like an advocate, a sister, and like I see a lot of myself in you, a mother, somebody that's out there and running her own businesses. And I just love that. So like women, I love women. That's what I do. I don't really know what I do. Only thing I know is that I'm in the business of people, and women are usually in the forefront of whatever it is that I do. I come from a family of 6, 5 of us are girls. So this is something I've always done my whole life. But in addition to that, I guess as far as professional career goes, I do strategic communications. And I have a chance to actually work with a lot of you before in the past. And so I'm just excited to be here. I'm on the East Coast, but hey, when I agreed to this, the time part doesn't really matter as much. I definitely took a nap earlier in the day. So I'm excited to be here and really engage in this conversation. So thank you all for being here. And thank you all for being women too, that not only me, but other women can stand on your shoulders. Because when I look at every single award I have won this year, I'm just the person that's in the forefront. And that's because I'm standing on women's shoulders. I'm standing on my mother's shoulders. I'm standing on my grandmother's shoulders. And honestly, I'm standing on y'all's shoulders too. So I think we won those awards this year.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Let's start there, because I think, boy, I gave this show a lot of thought about where do we start and engage in this, because on one hand, I think every single one of us has a lot of pain inside of us for what it has taken to get to a place where, look, Joy and I know each other from running for office together. We have suffered in those processes. We as businesswomen are suffering in the process of doing business in the state of Washington. And look, I don't know if it's different in other states, but the state of Washington is incredibly difficult to do business in as a Black woman. Again, please apologize the noise. Of course, the only night my office building would be doing drilling is this evening when I'm on air. But where do you guys want to begin with that? Because we're all out here in the streets doing business, and we've all had a number of challenges that we have to overcome. Paula, do you want to maybe open up and talk about like some of the things, you, Joy, and myself are in the political space. I'm not as much as you are, but definitely in that space. Joy and I have enough. We've had more than 3 toes in that space for a long time. Do you want to talk about like what your
Paula's is different. She's a lobbyist. Which
a lobbyist.
How many Black lobbyists do we have? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Right there.
Joy and I are friends on Facebook. I love her. She knows like that's my heart. But that's so. Let me just give you a little bit of the background. When I first got started, it was because I was advocating, and Katie knows my story. So Cindi, I was a single mother. I had been married and divorced by the time I was 19 years old. And they had this voucher that would pay for you to get childcare, but they told me I could not get it because I worked 2 jobs, went to college, and I wasn't on welfare, which to me was stupid. You are penalizing me for trying to better myself. And I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, which is a heavily Republican town. So they said, well, if you don't like the law, Black women, go change it. And I said, how do you do that? And they were just like, they kind of were scoffing at me, right? Well, you go down to the city council. Our city council at the time was 100% Republican. And so I didn't have a car. I didn't have means. My ex-husband was not paying me child support. So I literally used to take my son in those little cheap umbrella strollers that folded up. I used to catch 2 city buses, and that right there, Joy, and go down there and testify every week. And I did this for a year until they changed the law. And the city council president said, if we change it and we make it so you can get the voucher, will you stop coming down here? And I was like, I guess. And he said, are you some type of lobbyist? And I was going to community college. I said, no, I'm just a single mother. And I don't understand why I have to live in projects or be on welfare for you to help me. And how many other women out there are like me that we're trying to work, we're trying to go to school, we're trying to make a difference, but you guys want to push us into poverty. And so I just asked the white Republican guy, I said, well, what's a lobbyist? And he laughed. He said, it's a person that advocates for the cause. And I'll never forget this. He said, you should be one, you'd be very good at it. And I kept in contact with him. Well, a year later, he called me and he gave me this phone number. He said, hey, I want you to call this friend of mine. He has an opportunity and I think you'd be great at it. And I was like, as a registered Democrat, I was like, great at what? I called the number and it was the guy that was running the campaign for Bill Clinton. And this is why you have to be open-minded and you can't always look at political parties and political affiliations. And he said, Bill Clinton has very good relationships on both sides of the aisle. We need somebody who is tenacious that can help us in communities of color galvanize the vote. When we call the city council president and say, who do you know? There was NAACP, there were all the Black pastors, there were all these people. This is 1992, I'm 20. He said, the city council president gave us your name. I was like, this is me. I don't have any experience. And so on one hand, it's very difficult if somebody in power, what I learned was if somebody in power doesn't open a door,
that's right,
you will never get in. It's an old boys club. It's a white club. And I'm unabashed about saying it was not a Black person. It was not a woman. It was a Republican man who saw me as tenacious, who saw that I wanted to better myself, who saw that you weren't going to push me into public housing and tell me to quit college to get this subsidy. I was going to tackle the system. And he saw that in me. He said, we need more people like that who want to change the system, right? And so fast forward, Cindy, when I look at it, it's, we do this in Washington and Texas and Georgia and Florida. And we've done it in New York, and I go to California in a couple of weeks. It's very hard. I often tell people, I said, sometimes when we walk in the room, ladies, there's two good things. There's me and the coffee. It's very hard.
Paula, what you bring up about, Keila, because I'm in the inner circle, I call her Keila. Keila, it mentioned in the comments here about this is what we're talking about standing on shoulders. But I think something important to highlight here, and Joy, jumping here in a minute with me here, but when you mention about, the Republican white guys helping you, I have had repeatedly said publicly that for the most part, it has been white men that have helped my career. The challenge that I ran into in my career has mostly been with other women. For me, it's been mostly white women, but there are the issues, and it's what we wanted to talk about tonight about the sisterhood, about Black women. Like, where are we as Black women when it comes to using our shoulders to help sisters rise? I don't think we've historically depended on other Black women. I know I historically have not. What are some of the others, if you think about that?
I would agree with that. Only because we've just been in that space the last 4.5, 5 years of thinking that sisters are on our side, and then all of a sudden realizing you're not invited, you're not included, you're actually, they have this, what I think is sense of you're too much, or you have what I want, or, whatever the case may be, whether it's you've been married or you're married and I'm not, or, you have a degree, I don't, whatever the case may be. I think that certain women look at that and that's when that wall goes up, or that disconnect happens.
Is that a Black? Do you see that more from a Black woman perspective?
Yes, for me, because I moved from California to here, where I had all these Black friends, and then I moved here, and I was like, "Whoa, the Black people!" And then the Black women didn't really like me, so then I was like, "Wait, what am I doing wrong?" And I just like everybody, like I'm just that kind of person, so I'm not really looking for Black, Asian, Hispanic,
You're on something. I know Katie wants to get in. Coming from California, Katie coming from Detroit, me coming
from California too.
Yeah.
Ladies, like queens. Let's honor you and call you what you are, queens. Do you feel that there's a little bit of passive aggressiveness? And
Seattle has it all day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear Keila. Go, Keila.
Paula, and that's why I love to hear you all speak. And I think that two things. I think that your generation, which we are right there, but you all are Xers. I'm a millennial. I'm an old millennial. I could damn near be an Xer. I think that your generation went through certain things that y'all made it where we didn't have to go through it. We do go through it. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you at all. We go through it. But I would say that in my experience in Seattle in particular, and I was there 14 years, I left for 3 and went to New York, but I came back. And when I came back to Seattle, I think the biggest thing was Seattle likes something that's like a shiny light that they're not used to. But then once people start getting close to you sometimes, and sometimes it happens to be women, and I think sometimes it happens to be Black women, but I've also experienced it across the board with all women, different women. But then I also have equally experienced women like just straight up throwing my name in rooms that nobody else would have ever done before. And I think that we should take a moment for a second and just think about what you guys endured. We are not enduring it as hard as you did, because you took that that smack for us. And that's what I meant earlier by saying standing on shoulders. Because yes, I mean, Cindy, you know, at NAACP, I got played. But you know what? When I
got played.
Yeah. But in particular, I got played with money though. I was a contractor.
Yeah, you got played with
family. I got played in my business. Got played in BEC Credit Union. You don't do that. We're gonna
talk about that.
I know. Yeah. Let me finish for a second. Yeah. Let me get my point across. I know I'm long-winded. It's late. But my point that I'm really trying to make is that you guys went through certain things we didn't have to go through, and we also went through it as well. But for me personally, what I do is I just focus and I just go deep into myself, and I say, you know what? There's going to be about 33% of people that's not going to like me. 33% of people are going to block me. There's going to be 33% that's going to be in the middle, and really, only thing I can do is be me. And they're either going to choose me for who I am or block me. And then it's that 33% that's going to look out for me. And I'm like, where the hell they come from? And excuse me, I don't know if we're supposed to cuss or not, but kids aren't in the room, but they're going to be like
the one.
You know, yeah, but seriously, and I have experienced so much of that in the last 4 years that is unbelievable. I can't tell you every single opportunity I have had in the last 18 months came from a woman. And they weren't all Black, but it came from a woman, like straight up. It came from women who saw me. And it was women who were older than me who saw me. So I think it's very important that we lift and we climb. And if Paula's going to look out for me and bring me in on some business, who the hell am I to not bring the next young woman in, or male, right? Into business too. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that piece. But
I think we've experienced the fact that a week or two ago, Cindy and I were called pioneers. I really used it. I was super excited because it was Nikita. She was like, "You pioneer," and the way she used it was so fabulous. I was just like, "Oh my God, I'm a pioneer," you know. But I also go back to what Paula said, and I think back, why did I run that first time? Because a white man said, "I really think you should run. I think you should run," and I'm there with you. And he was every step of the way, not once, but twice. So thank you, Larry Sequest. Hats off to Larry Sequest, because he's the one that told me I could do this, and I did it, even though I didn't get to where I wanted to be, but that's okay. I feel like, I shared this with Cindy too, that path brought me here.
Mm-hmm. And that's how
in a circle with you all.
Yeah,
that's
how I do.
That's how, and I'm like, so it wasn't all bad. It wasn't all bad.
Let me ask you guys this question. Thank you, Gwen, about authenticity.
Yes, because that's how we show up.
One of you guys made a comment. I'm going to see if I can remember it verbatim. But you know, one of the things that maybe it was you, Paula, that said it. You know, I feel like the judgment. So there's a difference between the criticism that comes in about us and the judgment about us. And so, from my perspective, the judgment of me comes harsher from the Black women. And so the judgment, I'm the lighter skinned one. And so I have been accustomed to, in fact, I've been asked how come I didn't put about that in my book. And I said, look, I understand the colorism issue deeper because I understand what we as Black women suffer and go through. But one of you guys made the comment about, you know, she's just a little bit too much. And I think that happens a lot, particularly with business women, because business women, Black business women, I mean, we are beyond fierce, and we have to be, because we are in a very competitive space, losing business to whites every single day. And so our ability to draw business in and build those relationships puts us under a tighter microscope. Right. Would you agree with that comment?
I want, and this is going to get really deep. I want all of us to think about what I'm about to say, right? So like Cindy and I have this unique background, and Keela, you too, where we come from corporate America, which is white and patriarchal, which teaches women of any hue that there's only one seat at the table. And if you want it, you have to be like the Hunger Games, right? So I'm 49. I came up in the Lee Iacocca, Stephen J. Covey, you know, TQL, TQM type of leadership model. And I always said, I'm not going to do that with women, even though that's what white men have taught us. Now let's overlay the intersectionality. Cindy being a very fair complected multicultural woman, Keela being more mocha, Joy, you being a brown woman, me being a brown woman, we get perceived differently. Like when Cindy walks into a room There are sisters that are going to be my complexion and Joy's complexion that don't know her, but they think they know her because of the hue of her skin, and they think they know something about her. They have already decided, maybe she thinks she's better, right? And then there are people that are going to look at like me and Joy and Keela, because I saw this working directly with First Lady Michelle Obama. The minute we become assertive, because I'm from Florida, / New York / Brooklyn, so I'm a little bit more assertive. Katie's from New York. You guys are from Cali, so we flow differently. We're the angry Black women because we're using our voice and we're projecting our power. Before they know your education, your resume, they think they know something about you. Now, this is where stuff, and I was going to say the S word, this is where it gets even deeper.
That's right.
When they see my 6'5" husband or Joy's husband, and they go, oh, and she's got that funny last name that's Cuban. Her man looks white. Her children are mixed. Then they start to do the thing, Cindy, where they go, oh, she ain't really Black. That's a whole nother layer of colorism.
Exactly.
We're constantly having to prove our Blackness to Black people.
I actually got asked that. So I did a speech on Monday for Indigenous Day, and I took questions from the audience, and I was asked by a Black man. He asked it respectfully, but he asked it respectfully, but he asked, how can I be out here advocating for Black people when I was married to a white man?
That's so disgusting.
And so, I handled the question, but it just shows you that. And I've
First
heard
of all, I didn't know you were married to a white man. Hello.
Because this is Joy.
Well, they heard my TED Talk though, because my TED Talk.
Oh, yeah.
So they knew that I was. And anybody can Google and see my son, and nobody would know looking at Aaron that he's Black. I mean, he's just as light as they come. And so all of what you just said, Paula, about, they don't bother to look at us. I will add that, I've had legislators on my show, and when I was taking my show out of my home, in the background were all of my son's Stanford plaques.
Yeah.
And I was still being disrespected by a legislator on air, acting as if I had no idea what I was talking about when I talked about education, and was actually trying to school me. And so, they don't even bother to look at who we are. And the fact that you have to display or discuss your credentials is pathetic, because we don't automatically even have respect as professional women when we enter a space.
We're not going to say, hi, I'm Joy. I have a BA in business administration. And nobody wants to talk to anybody like that. How about, I'm Joy. What's your name?
Like, she looks young. And I remember saying this when I said, that young woman has a master's degree. It's almost like you're slaves, right, Keela? And you feel like you walk into the room having to show your papers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Paula, that's a good point too. And I even remember when I first started wearing makeup, I started wearing makeup to make myself look older, to be honest with you. Because if you see me without makeup, to Paula's point, and Paula, same with you, honey. I see you without makeup too. You look,
don't crack.
Yes, at all. And, I had to wear makeup sometimes to feel like I can, and maybe it was just a confidence thing too, but I felt like I had to do that sometimes to look older, to get a little bit more respect, especially when I went out there on my own and started my own business. I think I might've been 32. And I had to make myself look older to get respect. I mean, I really did. And you're absolutely right. And I also even remember my time in New York, even like putting my hair back in a bun, being very militant just to get that respect. Cause I was in corporate, to Paula's point, just cause I'm like, I want to move into leadership so bad. And that's all I saw was men or either women with no kids at all. And that even made me think for a while too about having children, to be honest with you. Cause I was like, it's no way I'm gonna make it to the level of success that I want to make it to in this business, because I only saw that business at that time, and being able to have kids. And so, I think starting my business for me was a big deal because it came with pregnancy as well. And I knew with having kids that I needed to live a different type of life, because I really didn't have a blueprint. You know what I mean? Like much of us, most of us, I didn't have a blueprint. So I had to try to create it and find it in different people.
One of our audience members who is Carol Lee Regis, because I recognize her, who told me to take the sticker off the bottom of my wine glass. But she asked a great question. She said, look, don't hate on me because I had to go buy glasses to have here in my office here because I didn't have them here so that we could do the wine. She said, is this not the case with all women?
Sometimes. sometimes. Because Cindi, you said it earlier. We've had white women who have lifted us up. I had so many, of course I live in Gig Harbor, white women helping my campaign, amplifying my campaign, donating to my campaign. But I gotta pull $50 from a sister. Come on now. What's going on there?
Gwen, I'm going to come back to the question, and we're almost going to have to take a break. But Gwen asked, she says, I'm from Africa, and sometimes called an angry Black woman for standing true to myself. It's tiring. That is probably the case for most Black women, right? If we speak up for ourselves or we address somebody that's coming at us the wrong way, we're perceived as angry Black women. We're going to pick this back up. We're halfway through the show already. I knew this time was short. Let us take a quick.
Still on my first class.
Well, I'll take a quick break and then we'll come back and pick this back up.
Here's to the queens.
I favor Black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's Black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's Black. Yo.
Maybe you should tune in on your computer.
Rainier Avenue Radio.
Thông điệp này được gửi đến bạn bởi Bộ Y tế Công cộng Seattle và quận King, Bộ Y tế Washington Chapter AAP và Wilson Ridge. Cho dù lớp học của bạn ở đâu, dù trực tiếp hay trực tuyến, tiêm chủng định kỳ tránh khỏi các bệnh nghiêm trọng như bệnh sởi, quai bị và thủy đậu, và chúng giữ cho con của bạn được an toàn, khỏe mạnh và phát triển. Nếu cần trợ giúp tìm nhà cung cấp, hãy vào trang parenthelp123.org hoặc gọi đường dây nóng Help Me Grow Washington ở số 1-800-322-2588.
This is Monique Lee from the Afternoons with Monique show. I'm also the owner of Seattle Love Broker, a relationship consulting and matchmaking company. Tune in every Thursday afternoon at 1 p.m. to listen to intriguing, informative, and entertaining guests share stories of their past and vision for the future of our community.
Women Empowerment Talk Radio, your roadmap to business success. Tune in every Sunday at 3 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, providing resources and sharing motivational experiences from the everyday entrepreneur. Tune in Women Empowerment Talk Radio every Sunday, 3 p.m. on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
What is the Delta variant? It's a faster, more efficient version of the original virus that causes COVID-19. It's the same virus, it's just better at infecting people. Delta is far more contagious than its predecessors. It's spreading twice as quickly as the original strain, and people who are infected with it carry around much more virus. Getting vaccinated is the best defense we have against COVID-19, including against the Delta variant. Now check this out. The vaccine is free, safe, and effective. Time to protect yourself is now. Learn more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not driving my sweet AMC Pacer through the car wash, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. You missed a spot.
Sacks, I favor Black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's Black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's Black. Yo.
Welcome back to Heartbeat Radio. I am your host, Cindi Bright. I knew that this conversation was going to start to fly tonight as we start digging into it, and my text messages are blowing up because people love this kind of a conversation. There's a couple things we can bring everybody into the room. There's a couple things I want to pick up on because there are two things I'm going to say, a comment that's made that I think is intertwined into the other. Where we had left off, we were talking about one of the questions is this not the case for all women? Before we go deeper into that, there was a comment made earlier about we need to understand, what we need to understand is that we bring energy into a room when we enter, not bragging, just the truth. And what Snow is getting at there, So when you start to think about the difference between all women and what Black women experience, I think there's and I'm open to how you guys see this, but isn't there sort of I've heard it my entire career about the way that I show up in a room, and there's something about Black women and the way we carry ourselves. And I want to say with a higher level of confidence, maybe, or a sophistication in how we show up. And it seems, at least in my career, and you guys tickle me when you talk about Generation X and millennials, I'm literally on the cusp of baby boomer. But there's something about when we come into a room that women expect me to shrink. And because I don't, it creates a problem. Is that, so back to the question, is these issues what we're talking about, is this all women? Do you see it differently with the severity levels when it comes to race? What do you guys think about that?
I think it is all women, but if you put it into context and just close your eyes and think about this, all emanates from slavery, right? You have the person who was the field slave, that woman whose husband was sold, so she was out there raising the children, doing the work. You have the woman who was probably a little lighter collected, and she's in the house, right? So she gets a different sort of treatment. And then you have that white woman who is just riddled with resentment because she probably knows this master, this slave person, is having inappropriate, relationships with these slaves. And so you have these different intersectionalities of women. And so you fast forward through, people have said that we are uppity, we are sedity, but in our mind, we come from a continent where we're kings and queens. Mm-hmm. And so we carry that with the ancestors of a regalness and a royalness that when we were emancipated and we came into our own, no, we don't want to dress in rags. Like, we care about how our hair looks, which is why in the South, when you go to the Bethels and the large Black churches, women wear crowns.
Right.
And so, and Cindy, you and I've had this private conversation, but if a woman can afford, whether she got her bag at night or she bought it at Gucci, why should you shrink yourself to make another person who is less confident feel more secure? For me as a woman, I told Katie this. I remember the first time I ever saw Keela, I thought to myself, damn, that's a bad sister. And then I realized she was on my team. We need to be complimenting and uplifting women. I remember the first time I saw Kenny, we're going to talk about in a minute how we bought 10 of her books and some of you sisters are going to get it. Because yes, you say you support a queen and you don't buy their book and support them, you're not ish. But no, don't shrink, because some woman somewhere who is struggling with her confidence is going to see a Joy. I'm liking everything Joy does on Facebook. She knows, like, I'd be darn near stalking her. I think confidence is sexy. So when I see a woman that's bringing that swagger, I want to be next to that. And somebody you don't even know is watching you and saying, I don't know what she's got, but I want more of it. And so the woman that expects you, Cindy, to shrink yourself, what we need to do is go, sister, who taught you were small? Who told you weren't enough? Who told you
Who dimmed your light? Who dimmed
your light? Because I on you one.
That is happening here in Seattle. I mean, to a very large degree, and I feel safe to say, to a large degree, I actually talk about it in my book about some of the back. It's that back, the colored courage. That book, yes, we'll get to that before the show.
It's over there.
So, Paula,
I'm reading that last part in the back. So.
This conversation started because Paula called me about my book. Where she shared the posting of it, and literally 2 people liked the post, and she's asking me, why is the Black community not supporting you? And I thought that was a great question, because I'm so used to being dissed. That I didn't even pay attention to it that way. But it is the truth that when we are excelling or accelerating ourselves, it's the question that you just said, why are you dimming your light? Like, why don't you shine brighter instead of hating on and whispering? Here's the thing I want to get at. The whispers behind the scenes about each other is the most destructive behavior that is tearing down Black women. And we work in corporate America, 63 cents to the dollar, we absolutely cannot have people creating doubt about us to each other. That is the most destructive behavior. And it happens all the time. Am I incorrect?
No. Yeah, but I think we also autocorrect, right? We autocorrect people too. And I think it's okay, even if you have to go back on it, because even in our situation at the NAACP, immediately when I started to see that there was similar behaviors keep happening over and over again, I'm like, nope, let's all come together in one room then. Let's talk with everybody at once. That way we can get it resolved and move forward, right? That might have been 34, 35-year-old Keela. Now that I'm getting closer to 40, I'm going to be really honest with you. It's like this. I love everybody. There's 20% of me that's always going to love women, and I would do anything for them in that 20%. But where I'm at right now in my life, I got young kids. I have parents that are elderly and sick. And so for me, I'm in a sandwich generation, I think is what they call it.
Yes.
Where you're stuck in between the two.
Welcome.
And for me, it's more about like peace. And I'm like, look, I'm going to be Keela because I showed up not having confidence. What did that do for me? I did that already for people because I worried about what everybody else thought. And really, that's kind of like really, you think too much highly of yourself if you're really worrying about what other people think about you. When I think 2020 for me, I shut out what everybody else thought about me. COVID was so beautiful for that because we all had to shut out what everybody else thought about us. And I just auto focused on what my goals were, what were my priorities. And as good people came into my life, I held on to them and I did not abuse it. So if somebody did something for me, even I would try to do something back. And if I couldn't do nothing for that person, because maybe I didn't have anything to give to that person, I found somebody else and I gave to that person. And I swear to you, it's been a domino effect for the last 2 years. And I think part of it is I had to change my thinking. I said, Keela, let's stop focusing on that 33% that don't like you anyway. Focus on the 33% that do like you. And eventually, you know what? Some of those middle people are going to start to move over. So for whatever that means, that came from my grandma, you know what I mean? And she died young and she died of heart disease. I had women, all my women died of heart disease. And when I think about why they died and part of how they died, a lot of it was tied to stress and worrying about what everybody else is thinking about you. And I think sometimes when we can go like this, we can really protect ourselves and really grow our businesses and our enterprises.
But I think Black women manifest that stress and go, gotta be everything for everyone. We manifest that much stronger than other women because we have to be the mom. We have to be the dad. Sometimes as a single mom, I can say that. We have to be the mom. We have to be the dad. We have to be the grandparents in case grandparents aren't around. Then we have to be the friend. Then it's a lot. It's a lot, you know, and we don't talk about the fact that we are in therapy or we might need therapy. Therapy is good.
Or that we break down. I mean, I had a meltdown last night. I'm dealing with freaking income taxes right now. And so, the pressure, to your point about, I've been single most of my life. I raised my son by myself. I've been earning my everything. I eat what I kill. Like, I don't have anybody handing shit to me. Oops. I put it on air. So when you're out here in these streets like this, people see me as a strong woman. And what they fail to understand is that strength is the result of pain. And so we become.
How did we get here?
How did we get here? Point, right. And so to not have it. My producer
he said that was the wine.
Yeah, because
I'm trying not to laugh.
All right, I'm having another sip. But it is the truth that it is hard. And so, again, why this conversation is so important is because we absolutely cannot, tomorrow forward, even if I disagree with you, Paula, that conversation is between me and Paula. If there's something you've done to hurt me, Joy, I pick up the phone and I call Joy. Like, I don't talk to around me and plant seeds of doubt about me. And then number two is that I think we as women, Black, white, or indifferent, if you need a break from me, fine, take a break from me. But understand that if we are allies and friends, there is something rooted in friendship. And if you can easily walk away from people because you are jealous over a dollar or you're threatened by a male part, those are the things that tend to trigger women into these crazy behaviors. And so we've got to behave different, all of us. Would you not agree?
I would agree with that. I have a question because I wanted to ask this because we're all together. Cindi, I'll start with you. What is the biggest misconception about each and every one of us?
What's the biggest misconception?
That other people's misconception, and then I'll pass it to you, Cindi. But I think people think this is how I showed up. I was just like this the whole
People's misconception about me is they think that I think that I'm better than everybody else. I have heard that repeatedly through my life because I'm focused on business and
that's a bunch of crap
and all that stuff. But those are people who don't know me. So
that's right. That's
a misconception about me.
Yeah.
People who know me know I give you the shirt off my back and do anything to help other people. I just don't tolerate BS. And so anybody who knows me knows that I will do everything for you. But the minute you show up to disrespect me is the minute your stuff gets checked. And that my not tolerating that paints this image that I think that I'm better than everybody else.
How about you, Paula?
Yeah, what's yours?
I know, honey. People think I'm too direct, and I lean forward into that and go, I have zero tolerance for BS, and I'm like this. What you see is what you get. And I'll give you my wine, my glass, and a matching set of china. But I'm also the friend that if you're doing something I don't like, you won't have to guess because I will tell you. And that's why I said to you, Joy, do you see people here as being passive aggressive? Where I'm from, that's a conversation. Here I've found that people get their feelings hurt because no one is honest and they don't tell you things.
That's right.
No, I don't like that. And if you do it again, you're going to catch 2 or 3 snaps. That's just my personality.
And I think
how about you, Kate?
Intensity. I always hear, "Oh, she's too intense." I'm like, okay, I am intense. What does that mean? They're
doing too much.
Yeah,
no, we want our PR communication person to be intense.
I'm like, I am intense. I'm like, I was born intense. Ask my mom. Like, she didn't make it to the delivery room. Literally, she made it to the hospital, and I popped right out. I didn't give her a chance. This is who I am. Like, truly. And you know what? I used to run. Yeah, mama asked my mom. She's like, "Girl, I didn't even get a chance to cry. You just came out. I didn't get no effort." And so, to Paula's point, though, I did learn to lean into it because at first I would be I would hide who I was. And the more and more I hid who I was not getting the opportunities. And it was everyone else around me. I would bring them in. They'd get all the opportunities. And I was hiding who I was. It was my second baby for me.
Absolutely.
Getting pregnant with baby number 2, it was no games. It was no more games. It's we have a real family now. We gotta, it's every dollar, every minute count. And for me, it was that second baby that gave me that confidence that I think that some women maybe get earlier on, but for me, it came with giving birth to my second child.
But think about what Cindi said. She said, "I eat what I kill."
Yep.
When a white man says that, people say courageous,
yep,
smart, ambitious, strong, should be a CEO.
Look at him. He's a leader. Yes.
Exactly. They say be, in other words, right? And so what we need to do, and Keela and I talk about this all the time, don't run from your power, lean into it. When people goes, I'm tenacious, I'm strong, I go, but that's why people hire me. People don't hire me because they want to lose. People hire me because they want to win.
Do you all feel, and I want to reserve a few minutes before the show ends. I want to reserve a few minutes because I want us to all put out to the community what we each need. But before we get to that, do you all feel that you are being heard or received here in the Seattle community as a leader in this community and as somebody of value?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think it took a lot of work to get there. I remember when I was undervalued. I remember when me and David would have eviction notices on our apartment door back in 2016. 17 as well. I remember when we couldn't buy a house at all and we were out there working. I was working 75 hours a week. I wasn't making no money. and at all. And I think that it came down to me figuring out, Kilo, you got some real skill sets. You need to set your prices and you need to run after those prices. Some people are going to pay them, some are not. But I think that after all the hard work, after all the heartache and pain, after losing my appendix and being there for a second time for a total of 14 years, I feel like us physically moving our home this year was a very beautiful year. We couldn't have moved in any quicker either to get back closer to family. But I think that I think I am well received in Seattle. I think that, and if the people I'm not well received to, that's okay. I'm okay with that. Like I'm old enough now to be okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Joy, what about you?
No, but I also live in Gig Harbor. You know, my neighbors, they've never gotten to know me. They don't know me. Had an incident just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago with a neighbor confusing me with another Black woman, and then not wanting to apologize for it. When I said, I'm your neighbor, that's Miss Thelma, a friend of mine, not the same person. And this community is white led and mostly white men and white Republican women led. So no, I don't. And I'm not in the inner circle in Seattle. Do I have fierce allies within the Pierce County area? Absolutely. So much so I can actually tell all of you, you are now looking at the new, the Civic Engagement and Political Director for Washington Conservation Voters.
Alyssa Macy, that's my boo. That's my boo, Joy.
I love her. I love her.
That's my.
I get to go work for her, I am super excited. So
yes.
So I feel like
this is California.
This is a step for me in that arena and to be amongst those folks in Seattle. But no, I didn't have the best experiences in corporate America. I mean, I had opportunities people gave me, but within a corporation, but I got to a department where my boss was like, why do you ask so many questions? Why are you always laughing? It's on my review. Why are you always laughing? Mm-hmm. Okay. So no.
Let me ask this question because I really want to make sure there are 4 of us here. So you just got to share, Joy, what your new role is. I've been biting my lip because I've been wanting to say something. So I didn't know if you had actually been public about it.
No, they told the executive committee today. So I guess I could tell.
But what do each of you need as a businesswoman in this town? What would help your business? What would help you all right now? What do you need? And not just Keela's not here anymore, but she still has business here in Seattle. So, and this is not just left to Seattle because people outside of the city watch the show too. But what do we each need right now that the community can do for us to help lift us? What would you say that is?
Paula?
Oh God, I think I want to thank community. I came here from Florida in 2015, and I can tell you Seattle took me in. And I think it was the community, honestly, that has been very good to me. Seattle has adopted me and made it uber easy for me to be successful. So I never want to be ungrateful or unthankful. And I think for me, Cindy, that's why I try to make sure that I'm grabbing a hold of a Black woman with my left hand and a Black woman with my right hand. And we're rising together. No offense to any woman of any other race, but I'm Black, and so I'm bringing Black women with me. And so what I would say is, what I want from community is just continue to have that accountability to make sure that I'm doing what I say I'm going to do, and just make sure that I'm making a pathway and making sure that I'm lifting other women, because I cannot say that Seattle has not helped me, has not embraced me, has not done things for me. I have not had an issue doing business here. I have not liked the way I've seen Seattle treat other people. And I think there is some classism here.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely some classism. And so that stuff, and there's some cattiness and some whispering that I don't like, but I also don't want to be ungrateful. I'm a community person. And so I'd like to say I owe everything and every success that I've had here to community. The Seattle community is fantastic.
Well, I want to take a minute to publicly thank each one of you. And I'm going to individually say what I want to thank each one of you for. First, I want to acknowledge and thank Joy, who has become just an incredible friend and sister to me in this whole journey, not only of running for office, but being my co-host here and having these deep conversations, and most importantly, for having my back when I need to have my back, because I have not always felt like I have that. I want to thank you, Keela, because you have come to my rescue more than a few times, both with your business and with yourself as a friend, to help make sure that the work that I'm doing is amplified and talked about and shared in this community. Without hesitation, you have done that. And that is a rarity. And so I want to publicly say thank you to you for that. And for you, Paula, look, no one calls me and says, I'm buying 10 of your books. And I'm giving away 10 of your books to women who want to read this book about what you're writing about. And I want to tell the community what I'm doing. First off, thank you nobody does that. And then I got to meet your tall Cuban husband this weekend when he brought They're all signed. I want to say that, the help that I need in the community is I aim to become a New York bestseller. And I'm worthy of that. The person I feel that is an opponent to me would be somebody like Robin DiAngelo, who is a white woman who wrote White Fragility, who is writing about Black women's pain. If white women can become New York bestsellers on Black women's pain, there's no reason why a Black woman who has stepped in and is aiming to change this outcome for all of us.
That's right.
When Black women rise, all women
Amen.
Need that. And so that's my ask to the community, is not just buy my book, but tell your friends, go have your friends buy 10 books and take them into your companies and start pushing this conversation with people, because I feel like it's necessary. I feel like tonight, the four of us to be able to sit here and have an open conversation about our lives, the challenges we face, the things that we need as women. We need to role model this to the rest of our community and put a plea out to our sisters, both Black and white, to step into sisterhood.
That's right.
Step into sisterhood. We don't need to compete with each other. We can work together.
And the future generation. I like that, Katie. I like that.
Cindy, we have a little announcement. So we bought 10 of Cindy's books and we're mailing them this week to 10 phenomenal Black women that are leading with distinction. And the only thing we would ask is, if you get the book and you like it, if you do an Amazon review, Cindy will check and we find out you did a review. For every Amazon review, we will buy another book. So we want to be able to buy up to 20. Our nonprofit will buy a book for every review that you do, which helps her become an Amazon bestseller. We do believe, and Keela and I talk about this all the time, it is not enough to say that we empower women and we support Black women. Faith without works is dead. And if you don't have action behind your words, then you're not really doing it.
That's right.
Keela is my friend and my partner. And one of the things we do when we say we empower and we lift, it is not because we say it, is shown in our actions. So we want to challenge Black women. I have not written a book, but this is a good book. Support, support, support.
That's so awesome. And yes, what you're getting at, Paula, is we are not being performative as four Black women sitting here. We are actually doing something to make the world and other women better. And that, to me, at the end of the day, is what this fight is all about, is for all of us, because us boomers want to be able to hand this over to
somebody,
because we can't do this forever.
But you know what, too? I wanted to say, too, I think that we need to respect and I don't look at you all as elders. I don't. But I look at you all as older sisters. And I think that needs to be respected. And I'm grateful because I have 3 older sisters. So I understand how to be on both sides of it, how to take that guidance and that wisdom, and then also how to work with younger ones. So I had younger siblings, too. And I just think that's the biggest piece right there, because we're missing so much knowledge. And I would say that to anybody. We're missing knowledge when we don't connect with sisters who are 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years older than us. And I would say it's the opposite, too. I think that you also need to connect with the younger ones. I try my best to keep an 18-year-old mind around me because it keeps me fresh. You know what I mean? They challenge us in different ways. I try to keep those people around me. So I think it's like, you know, it's that true lifting and climbing. And so I don't know, I'm grateful for all of you. And Paula, I'm really grateful because I love Seattle. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard to like physically move because I love Seattle. But I love my daughter more. And so it was way more of a personal reason why we're moving. And so I just want to say that Seattle's a beautiful place. And you asked, what do we want from community? I just think for people just to be themselves and just try stuff. Try stuff out. Like, don't be afraid. You're never too old. You're never too sick, and you're never too young.
That's right. Amen.
Yeah,
How's the wine, ladies? Cindy, how's the wine? Did you like your wine?
Oh God, it's outstanding. Yes, it's really good. I meant to email them today and tell them that we were going to highlight. So again, it is Pritchett. Only black. Yeah, Pritchett. Okay, only Black-owned winery here in the state of Washington. Thank you for suggesting that, Paula. To our sisters who are out there listening to this show tonight, if there is a need, if any of you, young, old, white, black, if you need one of the sisters here on this show tonight to help you, we are a message away from saying, I need help. And I think every woman here is going to do what she can to make sure that you get looked out for. And as Keela said, rise and lift. To all of you who joined me tonight, thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation. So appreciate it. And to our audience, thank you for joining us tonight. We will not be on air next week. I just got word that my show got preempted. There will be a debate. I think it's probably Nikita's role that they are debating on air, but we will be back the following week. And so to all of you, thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Wow, ladies, I'm going to take a picture. Smile.
Yeah, post it, Joy, post it.
I love you guys.
Joy, get the picture, Joy, so you can post it. Tag us.